Welcome to the Dawgs Table. Get access to special guests, anyone can join the Dawgs Table. Find the link to join the show in the comments when we go live every Tuesday on YouTube, on Facebook, and everywhere on the BIGPLAY network. Here's your hosts.
Welcome to the Dawgs Table. I'm your host, Craig Fountain, here with Ryan Angelo. How you doing today, Ryan?
Crappy, Craig. How are you?
Pretty crappy as well. Not the most fun Monday and Tuesday this week, or Sunday for that matter. Sorry we're a little bit late for you guys. We had some technical difficulties with the software we use to go live. But we're glad you're here now. We're glad we're here with you. If this is your first time joining us, we are a Cleveland Browns roundtable discussion show that anybody can join. About halfway through the show, around 9:30, we're going to post a link in the comments, and you can join the show and talk to us, video chat. If you're on Twitter, it's like Twitter Spaces. We've been doing this for a long time now, and we've always had a blast. So if you want to come on and agree with us, have a few comments, ask some questions, by all means, come on the show. We are brought to you by BIGPLAY, Labatt Blue Light, and Remax Edge Realty, the JC Group. Additionally, if you are on Facebook or YouTube, you can join via the comments. You can comment here like Aaron and Craig. Thanks for joining the show, guys. Or BIGPLAY here, and we can interact with your comments. They come in live to the studio. Twitter, unfortunately, does not allow us to do that yet. So we're going to discuss a number of things today. We're going to go over this game that we just got through. We're going to put it as far behind us as possible, but we must recap it. We must talk about it. We're going to talk about the coaching staff. Is Kevin Stefanski on the hot seat? Is Joe Woods on the hot seat? What do we think? We'll let you know. We will also see if there's any updates about Myles Garrett, and we will look ahead to the Los Angeles Chargers. So lots in store tonight. Again, we're going to post the link in the comments around 9:30 on YouTube and Facebook. You guys can join the show and talk with us. All right, Ryan, give me your thoughts on this week's loss to the Atlanta Falcons. Let's get this part of the show out of the way. Again, we must talk about it, but give me your thoughts here.
Rough one, Craig. It's so hard to put it into words when you're disappointed after a loss like that. Another game, Jacoby had him in position to win. The offense did its job. Defense just could not hold them. I think they had 10 straight run plays in that final drive of the fourth quarter. Just shoved the ball down our throat, down the field, and the defense did what the defense tends to do. And, we ended up losing because of it. So, super disappointing. I'm disgusted. I'm tired of it. These are the types of games that keep the Browns from becoming legit Super Bowl contenders and legit deep playoff run contenders, is because they are just so inconsistent, and I don't understand it. It was not an equal effort on both sides of the ball for sure. And, it's the same story, different week.
There was some good things that went down on offense, but there was some things left to be desired there. There were some things on offense that are head scratchers. I think some folks are overreacting, but we'll get into that. There's a little bit of good and bad. There's not a lot of good on the defensive side of the ball, right?
For sure.
So we go into Carolina to open the season. We get that one, right? This man. All right.
I don't even know how to talk about it.
So, right. We win a game on the second longest field goal in Browns history, which is a very long time, by the way, right? The better part of a century.
Right.
We lead the Jets, and then we seal our own fate after we give up a big play. Jacoby Brissett throws an interception, and the game's lost. They run the clock out. We come into Pittsburgh, and that's a game that we kind of felt pretty good about. But at the same time, then now we go to Atlanta, and we're back on the struggle bus. Here's kind of an observation. Let's just start big picture. The offense has been a little bit up and down.
Right.
For the most part, I would say 90% of the time we're playing well. We're playing well. We're productive. We're efficient. We're doing a good job. That other 10% is ugly. It is very, 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 very ugly. But the defense has regressed progressively for 4 weeks in a row. Week 2 was not as good as week 1. Week 3 was not as good as week 2. This week was not as good as last week. Aaron says this was one needed with the upcoming schedule. Was hoping for 5-5 or 4-6 at the bye week. Hey D, how you doing? Thanks for joining the show. Yeah, absolutely. This was the easy part of the schedule. Remember?
Right.
This was the slam dunk. Oh, it's 3-1, 4-0. We're gonna go into week 7 at 5-1, 6-0 maybe. The question mark was the Chargers and Patriots, and DW was going to come back week 7, and we were going to go undefeated and win the Super Bowl and all that stuff, right?
Absolutely.
It does not look quite that way now. Now, I'm not a victory lap guy, all right? And I'm going to refrain from taking too hard of a victory lap, but those of you that tune in weekly know that this is on par with the upper end of my expectations for this period. And I'm actually very happy with where we are in certain phases of the game right now. I'm extremely disappointed in others because despite my pessimism that makes me not a fan to some of you guys, I don't think any of the viewers, but if somebody is scrolling past on their Twitter feed right now, I'm talking to you. I'm very impressed with things I didn't think I would be and very upset with other things. I did not think that the defense was going to cost us 2 games and that we were going to be, we reasonably could have been 4-0.
Could have, for sure.
And actually the game we should have lost was probably the one in Carolina, right?
Yeah.
That's the game we should have lost.
We should have, yeah.
That was an unusual set of circumstances. That does not happen 10 times out of 10.
Correct.
Right.
I mean, you want to say probably what, like 70% of the time that kick is made, or not even that.
Hopefully.
Yeah. I mean,
maybe. I don't know how.
I'd say that's probably a 50-50 kick. I mean, I mean,
he's got the leg, but
right. I'm just saying for any other team in that situation, it's probably a 50-50 whether they're going to make it or not.
Sure. So here's what's impressed me so far this year. And I'm gonna bring this back around and wrap this back into this game. Ryan, you and I have a little bit of a Twitter riff going on. I don't know if people are tuning in for Dawgs Table host drama, but you and I disagree very strongly on Jacoby Brissett.
Yep.
I am, Aaron says, 60% of the time it works every time. Right. Absolutely. So we all know my expectations for Jacoby aren't super high. And what I've been worried about and what I think is happening is we see in certain situations, he's going to collapse. He has a few game-winning drives and comebacks in his career. A few fourth quarter comebacks, a few game-winning drives. But if you look at his performance, if you do the splits by leads, trailing, or by a tie, he is exponentially better when leading or when we're tied than when we're trailing. And my argument this entire time has been the Browns have to start out hot. They have to control the clock, time of possession. They have to maintain a lead, and that's where he's going to be the best. That has been 100% true because we keep getting into the fourth quarter and dropping the lead, and then everything falls apart. Now, here's the main rebuttal that I get. The main rebuttal is Jacoby shouldn't be in that situation. If you're saying that, you are absolutely correct. He should not be in that situation. He should not have to bail us out in any of these games. But he is not equipped to do it if called upon, in my opinion. This is where he's going to turn the ball over. This is where he's not going to be efficient. This is where he's going to take sacks when he can't take sacks because he's too scared to throw an interception. This is where he gets indecisive under pressure and throws an interception. We've seen it twice. Twice he has thrown an interception to seal the loss, so to speak. Should we be in that scenario? No. But we have to do our best to keep him out of this right. Scenario. And one more thing, and then you can chime in and tell me I'm wrong.
You're fine.
In my opinion, through 4 games, we have seen Jacoby Brissett's ceiling, in my opinion. We have seen him play efficient. We have seen him complete the bulk of his passes. We have seen him be smart with the football. All this is done with a lead or a tie without an incredible amount of pressure. Things are going to change over the next few weeks, and it's not going to be as easy. And I am terrified that A, we've seen Jacoby's ceiling, and I believe we do. B, I believe that we've seen Jacoby's as a good quarterback. I don't think we've seen Jacoby as a bad quarterback. And there's a very dark side to Jacoby Brissett that you don't want to see. And I'm scared, and we'll talk about it more when we look towards the Chargers. But I saw some of it coming out at the end of the game. More so than in the Jets game. I am very impressed with our passing game so far, but those situations are going to lose us football games. The defense is it's not working.
It's bad.
It's bad.
It's really bad.
And I know I'm kind of all over the map. I have a lot of emotions and a lot of thoughts going on. I've been containing it and just waiting to spew these thoughts out loud, right? So Ryan, cut me off. Give me your opinion on some of these things, and then we can maybe drill down a little bit deeper into these individual areas.
No, I mean it's Jacoby is a good quarterback. He's an above average quarterback. He's not a great quarterback. He's not a below average quarterback. The 2 situations that he's been put in the 2 losses where he's thrown an interception. Yeah, I understand that. But I would give Baker Mayfield as much credit in that situation as I would him. Any other quarterback gets you to that position and your defense lays an absolute bombshell of an egg and puts you in that terrible spot. I'm going to give the quarterback credit and say, hey, he did enough to get us to the win. This defense should have stopped this, and we shouldn't even be in this position. So that's an argument that's legitimate. I would use for Baker. I would have used for anybody in that position. So it's not just me sticking up for Jacoby. I think Jacoby has done more than enough to win games for us. I think he's played well. I think he's played for what he is more than what he's not. But it's the offense has been good. It's been what we've expected to. The game plans have been what we've expected it to be. I think some of the play calling is suspect at times. Some of the situational football is suspect at times. But game management and defensive issues are really putting him out to dry. And I don't think it's fair for Browns fans to put the fault on him because he threw an interception at the end of the game. Like, it just, I don't know. I'd stick up for any quarterback in that situation. The two situations that the defense have put him in these first 4 games has just been poop. So, I mean,
Booty
granted he
cheeks, as
should,
you like to say.
yeah, booty cheeks, man. I mean, granted he shouldn't have taken the sack. You got to get rid of the ball. That's a bad decision. And I think that the issue at the end was, he's trying to make a play because he probably felt pressured after he did give up the sack, put him in a bad spot. He knows he makes a mistake. He's trying to make a play and, throws a ball into coverage where he shouldn't have. So, he's usually more efficient than not. So I give him the credit where the credit's due. But I agree with a lot of what you're saying. I don't think I hate using the term ceiling because I feel like what we're seeing is what Jacoby is. I think he is an above average quarterback, middle of the pack, that is more efficient.
Starting quarterback?
I think he's capable of it. I can't say for sure what he's going to do. We would have to see him for a full season with a good roster around him, because the argument that I've used before when we've talked about it, he's never had a good team. I mean, he's had really bad teams that he's been on. So, I mean, he's been playing really well on this team and he has talent around him. But I'm just not down on him. I think he's a better quarterback than most people give him credit for. But we're on to the next week, and it is going to be tough because it's going to suck for him because he's going to take a lot of the flack because he's a quarterback, and he's probably going to have to do things in these next games and take some risks with his throws. And he may not be as efficient as what he's normally because the defense is going to be terrible and is going to have them in bad spots.
So not to cut you off, but this is kind of my point. And Norman,
Right.
Thanks for joining the show. We missed you. I'm glad you waited to log on until after my take, or you would already have 99 comments in here. But you're going to catch a little bit of it here. This is my concern, right? Because, and actually I can pull it up right now. When Jacoby Brissett is, when the Browns are trailing, Jacoby Brissett's quarterback rating is 61.1. When we have the lead, it's 84.8. When we're tied, it's 104.
But that's a skewed number, though.
Listen, it's a skewed number because he threw 2 crucial interceptions on boneheaded plays where a conservative quarterback made a boneheaded decision to throw the ball twice. It is skewed. Go ahead.
No, you're good. I don't understand why you're blaming him. Like, to me, it doesn't make sense. Like, he should have never been in that position. Those were losses that were lost late in the game because of the defense screwing them late in the game. It's not like he had trailed the entire fourth quarter, threw interceptions, gave up multiple sacks, wasn't efficient with his throws, made bad decisions. Like, these were very quick turn of events where he was trailing for a very short period of time. So, like, I understand your point as far as throwing the interceptions goes, but it's not fair. Like, it's not fair.
All right. And here's one thing I'll give you. His completion percentage is relatively unchanged. It's almost identical. Doesn't matter what the script is calling for. It doesn't matter what position we're in the game.
Right.
It's going to hover between 63 and 66%. It's not very different. But what happens is when we're playing from behind and we start to abandon the run game and lean heavier on Jacoby Brissett, what I think that we're about to find out is that's when the other side of Jacoby comes out. 90-something% of the time, the bulk of the time, almost the entire time he's been on the field in this offense, has been in ideal conditions. I think that I'm perfectly justified in being concerned moving through, until we see Houston. We have a lot of tough matchups ahead.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. This is the easy part. Now, are those losses on him? Absolutely not. I'm not saying that. There are some play calls where I feel like, I don't know about that. But ultimately, Kevin Stefanski is, and we're going to get into this when we start talking about coaches being on the hot seat. Kevin Stefanski has done an outstanding job putting Jacoby Brissett in the best position to succeed. Right. Sometimes that is not possible, and that is when we are trailing and when he is forced to try to chase points, especially at the end of a game.
Right, but that's a defensive issue.
It's a defensive issue, but it's also a Jacoby Brissett issue. Like, we can acknowledge,
because you can put any quarterback in that position. If the defense is absolute dog shit trash, you can put any quarterback in that position, and they're going to make mistakes. They're going to do things that they normally wouldn't do because they're trying to put the game on their shoulders. Like, I'm more concerned about our Pro Bowl all-world defense going forward than I am our backup quarterback, who I know in my head is an average, to above average at best quarterback, not performing up to par for the rest of the season. I mean, I know what I'm going to get out of Jacoby, but I don't know what I'm going to get out of my defense because they're not performing at the level that they should be. And that's more concerning to me than what he's going to do on offense, because they're still going to have the same game plan no matter who they play. They're going to run the ball heavy and they're going to pass in certain situations. So, I mean, mistakes are going to be made no matter what. No quarterback is perfect. And it's just unfair to him that he's going to get super criticized moving forward because our defense is going to play like absolute dog shit. And we're probably going to get trashed in a bunch of these games coming up. And I just think it's crap, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah.
But I understand.
Well,
I understand your argument. I do.
Yeah. So here's what I think. I think that for the most part, Jacoby has played outstanding. But the conditions have been ideal. Kevin Stefanski has played to his strengths and put him in the best position to succeed. Right. And this actually lends to the argument that Kevin Stefanski's play calling is okay. Mm-hmm. Albeit even if it's not great, it's okay. Yeah. But if we start trailing, I foresee issues, and our Twitter rift will continue. We will continue to yell at each other because we are not going to agree on this. We'll see as time goes by. I hope I'm wrong. I don't think I get it. I don't think our offense is explosive enough. I don't think we have enough. I don't think we have the wide receiver core to match explosive teams like the Chargers when they. And you have been pounding your fist for give me more talent in the wide receiver room. Here's something. So we finally saw David Bell start to get involved a little bit. That's encouraging. Not as quickly as we would have liked. He's not a PPR fantasy monster like Jarvis Landry, where we thought he was going to come in and plug and play.
Right.
And just be that guy. Amari had a tough task with Terrell against Atlanta. I'm not going to hold that against him, even though my thoughts are well documented on Amari. Great receiver, elite at certain things, but relatively average. Right. If you look at the wide receiver ones, 1 to 32. Right. DPJ has some clutch plays, but we're not throwing the ball a ton. We're throwing the ball about 30 times a game, and only because we have to, and that's not the plan.
Right. It's Jim Tressel ball, right? We talked about that before. I mean, that's essentially what Kevin Stefanski kind of plays is Jim Tressel ball. Pass it in certain circumstances and run heavy. And that doesn't work against teams like the Chargers and the Chiefs and stuff like that. If your defense is top tier and is shutting those teams down, sure, that's a good enough offense to keep you in a game. But when your defense is not playing well and those teams are scoring 25, 30 points on you, it makes that difficult to keep up.
So you've been pounding your fist for a wide receiver. Yes. Here's what I've been pounding my fist for. 20 plus carries per game from Nick Chubb. Okay. We have a timeshare. Nick Chubb gets about 66% of the carries. Kareem Hunt gets the other 33%. Right. That other 1% in there goes to Brissett or Anthony Schwartz or freaking David Njoku, who, by the way, could have made a play there. This was so ugly. If he would have...
I hated the play anyway, but
he was 10 yards from the sideline. If he would have cut and went vertical, he had a lane. I mean, he's not fast. He's not as fast as he thinks he is, but he would have had a decent run there.
That makes me feel like one of my fourth graders. It's like, hey, coach, give me the ball. And you're like, okay, bud, I'm going to give you the ball one time, but you're slow as hell. And I know you're not going to get any yards on this run. So let's just do it and get it over with kind of thing. Like,
and we have a great football mind at dawgstable.com and Matt Wilson. And he was mind blown that people were upset about this. because he thought it was a great play call. I straight up told him, I was like, I can't get behind this.
Yeah.
But it's situational football. I get it. I question it. But Nick Chubb, 20 plus carries a game. That's what I've been pounding my fist for. We are 2-0 when Nick Chubb gets 20 plus carries. We are 0-2 when he does not. I don't care if he has 140 yards on 19 carries. 20 plus carries wins the game. We need the run game for the pass game to work. We should be running the ball more than half the time, which we do. We have about a 53 to 47% run pass ratio, which is ideal,
right?
In my opinion. The more we run, the less we throw, the better. But
I don't know if that's going to work against the Chargers this week, but
no, it's absolutely
even
not.
if he gets 25
carries,
I don't think they're going to beat him that way. But
no, we'll get into that. We are still kind of reviewing the Chargers game. I have a feeling we might run a little over
Falcons
tonight. Ryan, I hope you don't have a bedtime. Norman, thanks for agreeing with me. We sometimes agree. We appreciate you joining the show, and we love you, Norman, even if we don't always agree. It is about 9:30. I'm going to put the link in the comments in just a moment, but first I'm going to bring in dawgstable.com contributor Ethan Greenberg. And Ethan, how's it going, bud?
Hey, it's going all right, guys. Entertaining as always, even when we're all pissed off at the end result.
Right. So I know you've been listening to our entire conversation. I saw you down there in the dog pen, listening in. What are your thoughts on what we've been discussing here?
All right. So first of all, everyone's right. The defense is trash. It is complete trash. I don't know what the problem is. I know that obviously not having Clowney, not having Garrett, not even having Taven Bryan had to have made a difference on Sunday. Okay.
Right.
The defensive backfield was pretty much intact. What the hell is going on there? So I start to go, is this a coach problem? What have we seen out of Joe Woods in his time here to give us any confidence that this is going to get, the ship is going to get righted? Because as you guys
I don't want to cut you off. Save just a little bit for the coaching hot seat segment.
Okay.
Did it just get hot in here? I think it just got hot in here.
Let's focus then on, as you guys are talking about, let's talk about Jacoby. All right. Jacoby in the offense. Jacoby Brissett, in those end game situations, he's showing where I think that you're right. It kind of is showing his ceiling. That's who he is. That's what he's going to be. And the problem is that you need the quarterbacks that can make those plays, that more times than not, when their team is down by a field goal in the closing minutes of the game, whether or not their defense screwed them, like against the Jets, that they can make the right decisions and get the plays made to get them in position to kick the field goal, to tie it, to score the touchdown, to win, et cetera, et cetera. Stefanski, it's a head scratcher. You sit there sometimes and you're like, what is he doing? And then you look back at the film and you're like, maybe he did know what he was doing. We don't know because we aren't down on the field to be able to pick his brain, unless we could actually sit with him and watch the film and review and say, what were you thinking here? Which he's never going to tell us. We got no business knowing that stuff. But I certainly question some of the decision making. Sometimes you get lucky and it works. Other times it doesn't, and then you're just disgusted. You're exasperated like Tony Grossi, and you're begging for the 3 points. I don't know that. I mean, that would have. It's hard to say. Oh well, the fact that you went for it down there in the first quarter, made all the difference in the game. Yeah, I don't know about that because the whole complex of the game changes. If you have 3 more points earlier on, maybe the Falcons have done something different. It's hard to say. Right. Hindsight is 20/20.
Yep.
And the Brissett thing, we have got to make it easier on him to not be put in those situations. That comes back to the defense.
Absolutely. 100%. I agree with you there. We're going to get into more of some of that stuff, let's do this. Let's go to the Dogs of the Week. It's going to be a little tough. It's going to be a quick segment this week. But we're going to go ahead and give our Dogs of the Week. Now, if this is your first time joining the show, every week we do our Dogs of the Week. It's an offensive and defensive MVP, but we also feature an adoptable dog from the City Dogs of Cleveland. And when we do that, that's when we'll give our MVP picks. Kind of tough in a week like this, but we're going to do it anyways. So here we go. This is our City Dogs of Cleveland Dogs of the Week. Here we go. All right, so our Dog of the Week last week is going to be featured yet again. I'm going to put the picture up on the screen here. This is Cameron. He's a sweet dog. All he wants in life is just a companion to hang out with. And he's about 5 years old. His favorite thing is just to hang out and get butt scratches. He's strong, but he's easy to walk. He's great on a leash. He's got a soft side. He's sensitive. He's a great pup. I got another couple pictures here. There he is. And then there's this one. Ryan's infatuated with the camouflage treat in the mouth here.
I actually didn't even see it until the second time we had Cameron on.
Right.
I was like, man, that's a treat going in his mouth.
So that is Cameron. He's about 5 years old and weighs 76 pounds. I do have the contact information here for City Dogs of Cleveland. This is not Cameron on the photo, but here it is. You can reach City Dogs of Cleveland at City Dogs CLE on Twitter, at City Dogs Cleveland on Facebook, or on the phone. You can call them at 216-664-3476. Hey, Mom. I don't think my mom's ever joined the show. She's like, what is this about? She's like, I keep seeing you do this every Tuesday for like 3 years. What are you doing? Thanks for joining the show, Mom. Mom is a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. Go easy on her. But she's a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. She was raised that way. It's not her fault. But I broke the mold. I was the black sheep. I was like, nope, not for me. Yeah, that is Cameron. Let us know if you need help getting a hold of the City of Dogs of Cleveland. We would gladly connect them with you if it would make things easier. All right, so let's get into our offensive and defensive dogs of the week. Ryan, who is your offensive dog of the week?
It's a hard one. I mean, unfortunately, I got to go with the low-hanging fruit, and I just picked Nick Chubb. He had a good game, efficient as always. It was a tough one to pick anybody on either side of the ball for me this week. Yeah, I went with Nick. I think he just is so good with the ball in his hands, man.
Ethan, who would you go with?
Well, it's tough. Again, it was a tough week when we lose the way we lose like that. It's always tough, no matter when you lose. It just stinks. I'm looking at the stats here, and I didn't even realize Njoku led the receiving yards.
He did
73 yards. That's pretty impressive. He had an unimpressive, run there that wasn't so good. He's getting to be consistently in the passing game, so I'm going to give it to Njoku.
Good pick.
Outstanding pick. I'm gonna have to go with Ryan. It's the low hanging fruit for me. There's only so many bright sides in this game. Justin, thanks for joining the show.
Hey, Justin.
There's only so many bright spots in this game. Really, to me, Nick Chubb has shined in every game this year, and it's really hard to ask anything more of Nick Chubb than to maybe get a couple extra carries from Stefanski when he doesn't eclipse that 20th carry. But, man, is he good. And all right, sidebar here. I am astounded, absolutely astounded that he is second in the NFL in rushing this week. And the guy that's on top of the list is Saquon Barkley. I don't think it's going to last.
No.
But that is insane. And I think 350 plus out of Saquon Barkley's almost 500 yards are yards after contact. His yards after contact, I think, would be good for like, I don't know. I think it's top 10 in the NFL overall, but that's insane. D made me a GIF because did you see the Kareem Hunt stiff arm?
I don't remember.
Kareem Hunt had a nasty stiff arm. We're going to have to, I'll have to show you guys the replay, but, yeah, can't run the ball if they don't give him the dang thing. That is absolutely true, D.
True.
All right, I'm going to go first on defense, and this is tougher than offense. I'm going to go first because I'm going to take the low-hanging fruit. You guys can do whatever you want, but Denzel Ward had an interception. I know he graded highly, but I don't accept that. When you look at PFF, didn't he get graded like a 96 or something? Like, I don't accept that at all.
No.
I don't accept that. But he had the interception. He had a takeaway. So I'm going to go ahead and give it to Denzel Ward. Ryan, who you got?
I accept that choice because he did it right after I called him out on Twitter. So I was happy about that. I'm going to go with Jacob Phillips. I think he had a pretty well-rounded game. Obviously the middle of the defense struggled there at the end of the game to stop the run, but he led the team in tackles. I believe he had 6 total, 1 assisted. So 7 tackles total or whatnot. But yeah, I mean, so he had a decent game. I mean, it's hard not to pick the guy. He's led the team in tackles on defense, and he filled in for your starting middle linebacker that's out. So I'll go with it.
Are we hitting a weird Tim? Thanks for joining the show, but no thanks. Tim, link is in the comments if you want to join the show. We'd be happy to talk to you. Tim was on. So for those of you that are new, Tim was on a ton when I first started the show. He's absolutely outstanding. I wish we would get to talk to him more. Ryan D put the stiff arm in the comments if you want to go back and watch it. Are we getting to the point where the eyeball test is transcending analytics more and more often? Because Jacob Phillips is terrible when you look at analytics, right? So what him and who else were they grading? Who's the other defensive tackle? Help me out here.
Elliott.
Jordan
Elliott, right?
I'm getting my stats mixed up here.
Rochelle Wright.
And then you have Elliott. Who was the other defensive tackle?
Togiai.
For some reason, I was thinking Isaiah Thomas.
No.
Man, I'm getting my stats mixed up because I think our interior defensive line was ranked 125 and 126 out of 126.
I know what you're talking about.
For some reason, I was thinking Jordan Phillips graded poorly.
No, I think it was Elliott. I think it was
Jacob Phillips was okay. All right, never mind. Forget I brought it up. They were all bad. Ethan, who do you got?
All right, so we're back. Talking the defensive side of the ball. I'm going to agree with Ryan about Jacob Phillips, and mostly because, for the most part, he was in a tough spot out there, wearing the green dot, filling in. Now for Anthony Walker, he's in a tough position. He did lead the team, or tied for the lead in tackles with JOK at 7. So I'm going to go with Phillips as well.
All right, so there's our City Dogs of Cleveland Dogs of the Week. Let's move on. Let's move on. Sorry, I am multitasking. I'm posting the link in the comments yet again.
There's no excitement behind that whatsoever.
Barry always complains because on Facebook and YouTube, the link to join the show gets buried. Like, as people comment, the link disappears. So I wanted to post it again in case anybody, Tim, wanted to join. But all right, so let's get on to the hot topic. Kevin Stefanski is facing a ton of criticism. Barry's watching. I didn't think Barry was watching. He literally just put, there it is. That is great. Okay.
Barry.
All right. Kevin Stefanski his name is all over social media, and people are calling for his head. And I'm not completely sure that I understand it. So, Norman, I see you down in the dog pen.
Listen, I ain't argue with Norman about this dang defense the rest of the show. So he gonna have to, we have to figure something out here, Norman.
Justin's right. Justin was very much on Stefanski's ass all last season.
He was.
Norman, I see you down there in the dog pen. Hang tight for just a second. So let me give you my bird's eye view take, and then you guys can give yours, and then we're going to bring Norman in, and we can drill into these specifically if we'd like. Stefanski's play calling is just fine for the most part, in my opinion. There are a couple times where I want to scream at the TV, run the effing ball. And there are a couple gadget plays here and there where I'm like, probably shouldn't have done that. That seems silly. The Njoku one. The Njoku one looked awful live. You go back, you watch the film. If at one point he cuts up the field, he's fine. He's golden. It's a great play. But maybe some of that might depend on, game planning, preparing these guys, knowing if you're going to run the play, and coaching a guy that doesn't need to have vision as a runner from a running back perspective to be able to, convert there to actually execute that play. Some of those things will drive us nuts. Nobody's perfect, but I think that for the most part, Stefanski's play calling is just fine. There's a couple things that he can improve on. Number one, limit the gadget plays, in my opinion. Number two, run the ball a little bit more. You can never run the ball enough with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. Keep it going. Nick Chubb's on pace for almost 2,000 yards, 21 touchdowns, and like 100 more carries than he's ever had in a season before. If he can stay healthy. Run the ball. Run the ball. Let's keep Jacoby to 25 attempts or less. Run the ball. Keep him to 25 attempts or less. D, I'm not reading this out loud, but I'll put it up D. Just because I love you.
It's a man show over here.
She likes her some salt and pepper.
She does.
Norman, I see him pulling his glasses up. He's trying to read. I'll put it back up for Norman. Anyways, here's the thing. I think he's just fine on offense. The idea to me of calling out Stefanski and wanting him on the chopping block because of his play calling is absolutely absurd. I cannot get behind that, not even close. Could he be a little bit better situationally? Sure. Mm-hmm. Here's the problem. The problem is he is in charge here, and everything that falls under him is his responsibility, including the defense and the special teams. Now, I don't expect him to be out there coaching the defense, right? He's an offensive mind. He's an offensive play caller, but he should have his defensive coordinator prepared or capable or make the right personnel decisions there. He should hold that person accountable for how prepared the players are, how accountable they are, how smart, tough, and accountable they are, right? We know what type of capability our defensive personnel has, and that's an elite unit if it's done right? We have the talent. We've seen them do it. They need to do it. Now, this past game, we were without Garrett and Clowney. That is huge. And there's a little bit of a pass there, but there's no excuse overall for how this turned out. Facebook user. I haven't seen somebody anonymous yet. I appreciate you joining the show, Facebook user. What should we call him or her? Bob?
Pete.
I'd like to see Pete. I'd like to see him use Hunt more and less gadget plays. Great. D says, no Joe, he needs to go. That's a great slogan.
I gotta come in anonymous like that. That's bothering me now. I want to know who that is.
It might be a privacy setting or something. It just says Facebook user. That's okay. We welcome anonymous folks. Special teams, I'm also not super thrilled with special teams, but mostly for me, it's the defense. If you're not going to do something with the defensive coordinator position, you better be putting in an effort every single week to make him better and in turn make his unit better. Now, here's kind of the roadblock, in my opinion. At this point in the season, the only chance you have that makes sense is maybe the bye week. And at that point, you might as well let them finish out the season and regroup after the season and make a decision. The schedule's getting tougher. It's already not pretty. It's going to be less pretty, in my opinion. I will be super impressed. And in my opinion, Joe Wood should keep his job if from this point forward, they continue to improve and progress and play, put a product on the field that we know that they can. So Stefanski's, if we excel, Stefanski could have a really tough decision coming at the end of the year. If we were going to let Stefanski go, who do we bring in? Who do we bring in? And you know what? Everybody is, we need a guy with emotion. Give me Greg Williams. And they're posting clips of Greg Williams yelling on the sideline.
Let's not even go down that damn road.
We need this guy. And I'm like, Greg Williams? Like, was he likable? Yes, in like a Dan Campbell, Freddie Kitchens type of way. Did he put a winning product on the field? No.
Oh, he was 5-3 here.
Yeah. No.
Freddie Kitchens was 5-3 as offensive coordinator, interim or whatever. I don't know. That was a wild season. Just like scratch that off the list of shit that matters.
Right.
All right. I'm getting emotional. We're going to bring Norman in a minute.
Reel it in.
Ryan.
Yes.
Give me your opinion, then we'll go to Ethan. Then we're going to bring in Norman, and Norman's going to tell me about myself. I just have a feeling.
No, I don't think Kevin has screwed up enough of anything to even be close to the hot seat yet. Oh God. I just threw up in my mouth. I'm sorry.
Now I know why they're anonymous.
Yeah. Somebody is trolling right now. That's what that is. That's a troll comment. For those of you that can't see the screen, I'm going to say what that person said. He said, we need Urban Meyer.
You know who that is, Ryan? That's Benjamin Albright coming after you.
Oh, my God, Ben. Is that you, Ben? Just show yourself. No, Kevin's not on the hot seat. He does have some brain farts in some situations where he probably shouldn't for being a intelligent guy. For example, the 3 consecutive passing plays when you catch a ball at the 1 yard line and, like stuff like that. Like, I even said in one of my tweets that, Kevin's losing this game for the Browns right now. He left some points on the field. That happened, and it really bit them at the end. But he's not a terrible coach. You can tell the difference between what we've had in the past and what we have in the coach now. I think it's just low-hanging fruit and a popular thing for Browns fans to just automatically want the coach gone. I think we have a much bigger problem with our defensive coordinator than we do our head coach. So, Norman, don't shake your head. I'm gonna. Can I mute Norman? Can I just take him out? Take him out.
Craig, are you still there? Did we lose Craig?
He's probably on a bathroom break. Go ahead, Ethan. What's your opinion?
Well, all right. So first of all, I don't think Stefanski should be on the hot seat yet. Not yet. Not after the trash that has come through here before him. They've set the bar so low that he's nowhere near that level. Yes, like you said, he left points on the board, so on and so forth. So I don't see it happening. And all these people who, the same people that are clamoring for them to make a change at coach are the same people who yell about the owners because and all the constant turnover, in the front office and stuff. You can't win. Yeah. You can't please everybody.
Right.
And I think that I'm going to have to agree with you. I know Norman's not going to agree with us, but this defense is suspect. It's been suspect for multiple years.
I want to know what defense Norman's watching, because he's shaking his head no. I want to know what he's watching.
So whether it's the coach or the players that are screwing up, somebody is screwing up on defense on a regular basis.
All right.
And it needs to be fixed.
Right. I mean, the thing is a lot of people are going to say, oh, well, it's the players. They have to execute. There's a lot of, like, Tyvis Powell. Tyvis Powell is really, he's broke down a lot of the breakdowns in the secondary, and he's pointed out this is a communication issue. This is on this person, right? We get that. But when those things continuously happen over the course of multiple seasons, that's on your defensive coordinator to nip that in the bud as soon as he sees that bad habit starting. So when you start making mistakes at that level that cause people to lose games, he's got to understand that I have to step in at this point and make the change so that this doesn't happen in the next game. Like, you just don't wait until the end of a season. So that's where it ultimately falls on the coach. So, the scheme and all that stuff can be argued. I mean, there's people that know scheming and defensive schemes much, much better than I do. My biggest thing with Joe, I just feel that they don't play aggressive enough overall. They have parts of aggression that they kind of play here and there, but I think they would be much more successful if they were a little bit more aggressive. But, like I said, it can be argued either way.
Yeah, I could deal with the scheme, just like you said, when they've had these kinds of mistakes, not in just one game, not just, this, that, over multiple games, over multiple seasons, you're seeing the same F-ups.
Right.
That falls on the coach, because he needs to teach these guys up. He needs to go. Something needs to happen. I'd love to figure out what the hell they're thinking.
Right. All right. Bring him in.
Let's go, Norman. What do you got?
Okay. Y'all covered a lot. So let me try to start backwards. We're going to talk about our D coordinator. Okay. As you all know, one of my biggest sayings is context is everything, right? All right, so here's some context. If you're really looking at the defensive performance from this year, you notice that there are different circumstances going on as far as defensive failures. To me, the low-hanging fruit when people get mad about something is always to blame either one of the assistant coaches or the head coach. And usually when they blaming those people, they have no idea who they would even suggest to replace that person. They just want to see that person gone. And then teams who react like that and they get rid of that coach, whoever it is, and then somebody else steps in and things are still bad, then they want to fire somebody else. So we kind of went through a lot of that the past decade or two, and people were getting all over Jimmy Haslam for that high turnover in coaching and front office. All right. He admitted, that he made a lot of mistakes in the beginning. A lot of people would say, duh, but I mean, at least he said it. He didn't just, excuse it off or just say it was all their fault. He said he made mistakes, whether it was picking the wrong front office people or extending the offer to a certain coach, whatever. But now we got the right people in the front office. I would hope everybody would agree with that, and that's based off of their draft record. I haven't given up on Stefanski, and I haven't given up on the D coordinator. This past Sunday was not so much a scheme failure, like he didn't blitz enough or anything like that. It was the fact that these guys did not get their gaps together when they were trying to stop the run. And a large part of that is because how many first-year players were starting Sunday? There's like, two of them that got called up off the practice squad. And then one, who was it? Alex, forgot his last name. He was playing. Thank you. Right. So they had their moments, good moments, bad moments. A lot of teaching points for him to go over with them this coming week. But that was the huge problem right there. When Taven Bryan wasn't on the line. You didn't have Clowney. You didn't have Myles. And the fact that they were actually able for at least the first half to be effective actually surprised me. Okay. But I'm not going to blame all that just on the coach. He gets some blame because, it could be a matter of him not making enough in-game adjustments, maybe. That could be for him. I'm putting this all on the players. Coaches coach and teach. Players have to take that and apply it on the field. Now, as a NCO in the Army, when I taught my soldiers how to do a task and I showed them how to do it, and then if I cut them loose and they turn around and screw it up, that's not on me. That's on them. They have to be able to take responsibility for that. Nobody wants to blame the players until, I don't know, years later. Then they go, "Oh, you're not being productive." Then they want to trade it or cut or whatever.
I kind of want to blame them.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying on that. So I mean, we could just say in general, if you want to, say you win as a team, you lose as a team.
Right.
The defensive side of the ball has not been keeping up like they were when they were top 5 last year. That's
right.
Can't deny that.
My rebuttal with that, real quick, I don't want to cut you off, is at the level of the NFL, your defensive coordinator is more of a manager than he is a teacher. Like, there's still coaching that happens at the NFL level, but this isn't like high school football. It's not little league football where the coach can say, well, I taught him and he just didn't do it. Like, these are professionals, and it's the NFL defensive coordinator's job to manage those individuals. If those individuals are not doing what they're supposed to do, then you put in somebody who is going to do that. And if there's an issue that's going on constantly, you need to figure out what the root cause of that issue is. And that's more of what they do. Like, yeah, they do scheming and things like that. But if you watch NFL practices, there's not a crap ton of like actual coaching that happens. Like, it's very group based. There's not a lot of individual coaching. They go over, technique stuff. But when it comes to the game, they're expected to carry out his vision, essentially. So
it's mostly, I would argue that it's mostly mental, right?
Right. Yeah.
It's in the film room.
Right.
It's in their meetings with their positional groups, with their side of the ball, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I just find it hard for an NFL coach to say, well, I taught them and they're not doing their job. Like, I just think that's a cop-out. Like, you could say that at certain levels of football, but when you're at that level, when you're making, several $100,000s to manage a group of people and they're not doing what they're supposed to do, you need to understand that and make changes.
So, and I will say, Norman, and I see out 1 second. So ultimately it is the coach's responsibility, right? Norman coming from the military, and I'm not from the military, but I come from, I have experience with management of a large number of people in different departments and things like that. I have a big business acumen to me, and there is a concept of ownership, and the coach has to take ownership of his coordinators, and these coordinators have to take ownership of their side of the ball. And the position coaches, and the position coaches have to take ownership over the positions that they're coaching. The players have to, they have to take ownership over the results. I just about choked on my own spit, but no, the players have to take ownership of their production and their results. And that is one thing that was alarming to me earlier in the season, when nobody wanted to accept responsibility for miscues on the field, miscommunications. Right. Everybody said, I'm not going to point the finger, but it wasn't me. It was somebody else. I'm not going to say who else, but it wasn't me. All right, Norman, I got that out and almost choked myself to death.
Okay. Well, at the very beginning, I think the only person that was actually saying something like that was Ward, which kind of surprised me. Everybody else was like, I wasn't.
Was kind of,
that actually has been a common thing over the last couple of years. So the Browns defensive guys have been pretty.
Because most of the time, if they say, okay, yeah, I messed up, or we didn't, we weren't doing this right or whatever, I've kind of heard that. But that's kind of surprised me when I heard Ward kind of like, well, nothing wrong with my game, and I was like, what? So okay, all right. But what I'm saying is, and you're right, overall responsibility for failures with, like with the players or like, even with soldiers or whatever, that comes from the NCOs, and then it goes up from that.
Right.
But what I'm saying is, though, when you have done training, okay, and even if you're in the fight, okay, if you're giving instructions, if I'm telling two people here, I want you to flank right about 20 meters and fire in such and such a direction, and they nod their head and then they run left. I mean, I can yell at them, come back here. They might hear me and come back, or they might get
that
shot.
NCO is going to punish them for not doing what they were supposed to do.
Unless they die, then I guess, no more punishment, right?
Ethan, what do you got?
Well, but would you not say, Norman, that at some point, maybe the message is not, I guess the coach's message is not being heard anymore. They're tuning him out. And maybe he's lost effectiveness with these guys. So either you got a choice. Either you get rid of the players and replace them with somebody else who's listening if you think it's their fault, or you get rid of the coach. Like Craig was saying, in businesses, you got people under you. Unfortunately, when you're at the top, sometimes you have to take the blame and you get screwed, for better or worse, right or wrong. And unfortunately, again, we're seeing the same damn mistakes over the course of a couple seasons with these damn blown coverages. And I'll agree with you. We had a crap offensive or defensive line going for us there. We weren't playing much. We weren't getting enough pressure on Mariota. We played 2 good quarters, 2 bad quarters. I mean, to be honest.
We're seeing some different things here, and I don't want to change the subject too hard in a different direction, but Patrick here said, now being critical of the coach, he can't play the fence either. Has to go full McVay, win now mode, or resign. I would say that's more of a Barry Les Snead thing. You have that iconic photo after the Super Bowl of Les Snead wearing that T-shirt that said "F them picks," because they mortgaged their future to win the Super Bowl now with Matt Stafford as opposed to Goff, right?
Right.
And I think that we are there, right? Like, we traded for Deshaun Watson. We said F them picks in the most literal sense possible. Now, something that Patrick said before, I think it was Patrick, was Kevin Stefanski, I think, had a little bit of a reset button that he didn't ask for when Barry made the Watson trade, right? They knew that this wasn't going to be a full season with Watson. I firmly believe that they knew that Watson was facing some sort of punishment. I don't know if it fell within the realm of what they expected or not. But Stefanski gets a pass, right? He's going to they're going to allow him to proceed forward with the offense following this year, and he's going to get a year or 2 to figure it out. And I firmly believe he will, right? Because Watson isn't going to throw 2 picks in 2 out of 4 games that's going to turn the ball over so that the other team can kneel it down and win. God, I hope so. I mean, he hasn't been on the field for 2 years, but I don't think he will. But Joe Woods, this is a very important point in time in Kevin Stefanski's career. This is the first major personnel decision he's going to have to make. They're probably friends. Kevin's smart enough to know that can't get in the way of business. But if this defense doesn't improve before the end of the year, who do you think is going to go? The $100 million cornerback, the $100 million defensive ends, or the defensive coordinator? It's probably going to be the defensive coordinator, right? I firmly believe that Joe Woods will keep his job through the end of the season. There's nobody really to replace him with. There's not a guy that you want to promote from within and essentially have to fire after this year if he's not the guy you want. But, overall, let's just go around. I'm going to go Ryan, then Norman, then Ethan. Just give me 30 seconds each. Is there a coach on the Cleveland Browns on the hot seat? And if so, who is it? All right, Ryan, go ahead.
I say Joe Woods. I mean, that's who I'm. Other than Mike Prefer, that's the obvious, but Joe Woods, his defense isn't getting it done. They have too much talent. There's some type of management issue that's leading into these teams or these guys coming out for games that they don't look prepared. The basics are, the basics are not there. The execution's not there. The technique is not there. The assignments aren't there. All that stuff goes into a totality of things, and that all goes back to the coach. The coach has got to manage that stuff. It's his responsibility. So, I mean, that's my pick. But I know there's arguments for the special teams coach and all that good stuff. But there's too much talent on that side of the ball for them to look that bad and to be that wishy-washy. Just what it comes down to.
Okay, I'm gonna peel off what you just said there, Ryan, and then get to my guy. I remember a Houston Oilers team that was uber talented, never made it to the Super Bowl. So talent is not everything. Cohesiveness, teamwork, and communication, that's what you need. That's your foundation. Talent just is like the icing on the cake as far as I'm concerned. Because you can have a less talented team like the Falcons, and you can find a way to win if you're not making mistakes and you're playing as a team and you're following your cues, right? So now I don't think Joe Woods is on the hot seat, but Mike Prefer might want to check to see if where their smoke might be coming from. He didn't have any issues this past Sunday because York was making his kicks and they didn't have to worry about fielding an onside kick this week. But him not having our free agent kick returner might have been a big problem for him, that they weren't prepared, or he wasn't prepared or preparing players to come in and replace him. And then I don't know if you guys noticed, but our rookie running back who was back there fielding punts and kicks, he's now IR.
Yep.
And I think it's because of his arm. I could have swore I saw him come off the field on a play. I think he was making a tackle or something, and he was not moving his right arm. So I hope it ain't serious. I hope he's back in 4 weeks. But now we're looking inside the roster. Okay, who that guy we signed off the street? Can we use him or whoever? Honestly, I think they ought to give Schwartz a shot because he needs to be able to touch the ball as much as possible. But to me, it's Mike Prefer. I like the guy, but if you want to talk about inconsistencies, I see more of that from him. On the defensive side, it's sort of like different units. And I know that kind of, you can go back and say that's still upper management, which would be, Joe Woods. But injuries can always have a factor on a unit's play, no matter what it is, offense, defense, special teams. And especially if it happens a week before the game, it's kind of hard to come back from when you using players that were supposed to be spelled depth, and now they're starting and they're young. So, yeah. You got a new guy now who's running the defense back there. A guy I like, Phillips. I've liked him a lot since they drafted him. And the one thing holding him back has been injuries. But so far, he's healthy. He's all over the field. He's making plays. So, and he's had enough practical experience to call plays. So we'll see how that goes. I think it was only maybe that one play in the fourth quarter when Ryan was on a scramble drill and old dude was standing out there all in the open. And I think that's one of those things where they're, like they say, good or great corners can cover for about 3 to 5 seconds, and then somebody's bound to get loose. And I think that was one of those situations. I think he just made a good play. Ryan avoided 2 players that almost got him on the ground, but didn't. And then he gets out, and then old dude was smart. He ran to the open side of the field. They lost track of him. There was the play. Sometimes that stuff happens.
All right. So So real quick, Ethan, before we get to you, Patrick says we hate this, but this year's a throwaway year. You're right. Nobody should get fired until the end of the year. I actually only want us to be competitive, so Houston doesn't get a high-end pick. I don't want us to be 8-3 or 7-4 when Watson comes back, because honestly, what the hell is coach supposed to do? Patrick, I saw you asking. Anybody can join the show. That's one of the best things about this show. We posted a link in the comments so that you guys can absolutely click it. Don't be nervous. If you come in, you're not just going to pop up on the screen. I'll see you pop up at the bottom, and then we'll bring you in, and you can give your take if you'd like. If not, we hope you join us every Tuesday at 9 and join at some point in time. All right. Ethan, give me your take on if a coach is on the hot seat and who. And then there's like 2 more subjects I want to get into. I don't want to take a whole lot longer with the show, but let's hear your take, and then we'll kind of move on.
All right, real quick. The stovetop is turned on to high, and unfortunately, the fire is lit on right now under Joe Woods. Prefer is very close behind. I don't disagree with Norman at all, but I think that Joe Woods is at the top of the list of people whose seats are getting nice and toasty there. They turned on the seat warmers, and Prefer is waiting in line. So, that's what we got going on. It is what it is. Moving forward.
All right. And just so that my take is out there, I agree with kind of everybody in a way. I don't really think Stefanski's on the hot seat. I actually think that he was more on the hot seat last year than he is this year. That Watson deal kind of hit the reset button for him in a way, as far as how much time he has to get things together. The ownership has been much better about, giving these guys a chance. At some point, if Stefanski doesn't make a decision, though, Haslam may be like, all right, it's time. It's time. You're hovering over the ledge. You're like, I'm going to push you over it. Go fire Woods. Hopefully Stefanski comes to that on his own, unless we see some ridiculous amount of improvement before the end of the year. And even then, it's going to be a conversation, right? So, in special teams, I think is right there with Joe Woods. I know, Ethan, you have special teams just under. I think they're right there. And I think it was the color guy on TV, like the commentary guy or whatever. I think it was him that I heard say, I don't understand why teams are kicking touchbacks against the Browns. Boot it to the 5, let them take it out. They're going to go down at the 15 or 20 or fumble the football, essentially. So, I think that we have personnel issues. I think that we are putting a lot of stock, and we talked about this in preseason, and I was harder on some of these guys than a lot of people, but Felton, Schwartz, those guys, I think that we're giving them too much credit from a hybrid perspective to where their utility, we can use them in different phases of the game. Now, obviously, they tried to solve that with Jakeem Grant, but he went down at a point in time where we still had to make those roster decisions as if we had never acquired him. So I'm not giving too much of a pass there. I don't know if he was here. Obviously, none of us know what the difference in production would be, but I think that it would be better. Regardless, that unit is not doing very well. Justin says Stefanski has 1 full year with Watson or he's gone. It really depends. He would really have to shit the bed, in my opinion, to have that happen. And you know what, Patrick, going back to your comment, 8-3 or 7-4. I appreciate you joining the show for the first time that I know of, because you're commenting here. But this, in my mind, would be a gift from the football gods. I've said it over and over again. Some people have higher expectations. I think Ryan had higher expectations. Norman did. Ethan, I'm not sure about. But, that would, in my opinion, be a gift from the football gods. If we come back 8-3 or 7-4, I am ecstatic. I am so happy. I am going to be happy if we win 2 games before Watson comes back. Now, something I see on social media is that's a loser mentality. It is for a player. It is not for a fan or an analyst to have a loser mentality, because you're pessimistic on the outcomes coming forward. So as a fan, they're going undefeated. For me, when I take off my fan hat and I put my analyst hat on, I'm hopeful for 2 wins before Watson comes back. There's a big difference there. And that's okay. That's okay, because I hope that I'm wrong. And I've been saying that a lot. All right. Let's move on to the next few subjects. Well, Justin says they have too much money in Watson for it to be any longer if he doesn't make the playoffs. Ooh, we're going to have a lot of interesting conversations if this defense doesn't show up for the remainder of the year. If this defense doesn't even get back to where they were last year, the sky is going to be falling. The world is going to be on fire all off season. It's going to be interesting. Getting Garrett and Clowney back is going to be helpful. The timetable for each is unknown. I don't think that they ever actually planned to play Garrett last week. I think it was kind of like, we're not going to show our cards type of deal. It has since come out that, reportedly he has like an AC joint sprain or something in a shoulder. That's a 2 to 4 week injury. We could see him this week. I would not be surprised if it wasn't till New England or the following week that we see Myles Garrett. Hopefully we see Clowney back before then. P says, will be interesting to see if star players look elsewhere if the season ends up in a dumpster fire. They're going to be selling the Watson acquisition hard when it comes to free agency, because we only have so many draft picks moving forward. So maybe we do need Urban Meyer for recruiting. We'll just keep him away from the players and just have them recruit or something. Norman, real quick. Sorry, I muted you. Sorry.
Oh, no, I was saying I saw that comment come up there when it said Urban Meyer. And I was like, well, we can hire him to run the special teams. He was good with that at Ohio State.
I agree, but that's also what got him in trouble in the pros. Keep him away from Cade York's leg.
Oh my God, come on.
he kicked a kicker.
That was college. He won't do that in the pro.
No, he did do it in the pros. He did in Jacksonville. I actually think there's a lawsuit from Josh Lambo, who was the kicker in Jacksonville, for kicking. What did he say? He said, don't effing suck or something like that, and kicked him while he was warming up. Yeah. I mean, it was something to that effect.
Oh, my God.
We need Urban like we need hookers and blow. We were missing Barry tonight. Barry's in a different state right now. He's in a different area.
Oh, my God.
Florida. All right, special teams. Jerome Ford went to IR, correct?
Ankle injury.
Okay.
So Andy Isabella is available. Now, I don't understand the Andy Isabella infatuation that we have had for 2 years as Browns fans. Someone responded to me and said, it's the guardrails. It's the guardrails. So basically what it is everybody got together and said, this is everything, every indication Barry has ever done. These are his preferences. This is what he looks for. These are his likes. These are his dislikes. All of his moves fit these guardrails. And, these are things he said out loud. And social media, I believe it was social media. I don't think that they would have ever published this unless it was leaked. In my knowledge, it wasn't. Social media put together these guardrails, and it's a list of things and what fits the criteria Barry's looking for, right? So we generally say, for example, Barry likes underachieving former first-round draft picks that have elite physical traits and they have lots of talent but haven't produced at the pro level. That would be part of guardrails. And I asked Twitter today, I was like, what is your infatuation with this guy? Like, this guy isn't anything special, right? Like, he just got cut from the Arizona Cardinals. He's had 33 career receptions. He's fast. We get it. He went to Ohio State. He's from the Cleveland area, and he's fast. What else does he have to offer? I think we already have one of those on our teams, and it's Anthony Schwartz. And somebody alluded to this earlier. This is where maybe Anthony Schwartz gets his chance to earn his keep. Jerome Ford is out. Jakeem Grant is out. Demetric Felton is, I don't know. Is this where Dearness Johnson gets to earn his keep since he isn't getting the handoffs? What do you think, Ryan?
I don't know. I mean, the only reason they would bring in Andy Isabella, he played in Massachusetts, by the way. If they
right, but he's from
Mayfield,
Cleveland.
Yeah. So the only reason they would bring him in is if they don't feel they have anybody they can return the ball. I mean, if they have no faith in Schwartz, they had no faith in Dearness. I mean, they're not going to bring him in, I don't think. But that would be the only reason. He's not going to do anything for your wide receiver room. He's a more experienced David Bell essentially at this point. So I mean, there's no reason for it.
Okay, so that is a rumor that's going around that I wanted to throw out there. So we got that. We got the fact that Garrett is potentially a 2 to 4 week injury. This would be week 2 from his car accident, which was weirdly divisive on social media. We weren't allowed to have some sort of middle ground between speed limits don't exist and players should be allowed to drive sports cars or something. I don't know. Anyways, stupid. Dude does need to slow down. He's had a lot of speeding tickets and many over 100 miles an hour. All right, let's not even get into that. Okay. Interesting. Andrew Berry waived his first draft pick since he came to the Cleveland Browns. Richard LeCounte is gone. We also released Curtis Weaver from the practice squad. We have an open roster spot. Ethan, any ideas where we might be going here? And please tell me it's not Andy Isabella.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen any rumors, anything kind of swirling around to lead me to have any knowledge of who we might try and bring in. I mean, at this point, if you really want to solve the return game, can we call it Josh Cribbs, Eric Metcalf? They're in the area.
Right.
I'd take an old
We're close.
fart just who could catch the damn ball.
Don't muff it. That's the game plan. Don't muff it. Actually, was it Donovan Peoples-Jones on the punt return? He had somebody on him, so I was nervous that he didn't fair catch that ball. I thought he was going to get popped. That guy was right in his face when he caught that. I don't know if you guys caught or noticed that, but yeah. All right. We're running far over. Ryan, let me know if it's past your bedtime at any point, and we'll either gracefully allow you to exit or close down the show. You can text me and nobody will know it even happened. But all right, after this loss, we just spent an hour and a half on this stuff. Normally we go about an hour. We have yet to move on to the Chargers. Ryan, what are your thoughts going into Chargers week?
If Jadeveon and Myles both are out for this game, it's going to be extremely ugly.
Extremely ugly. Okay. And if they are in?
It makes it more competitive. It's hard. The Chargers have been kind of up and down as well, but their offense is so good, man. Like, they just have so many weapons, and the way that the defense has been playing is extremely concerning. It scares the living hell out of me, to be honest with you. That game, like, it's just, that game it's going to be rough. I don't know.
So, and this is where it's going to start to get tough. Like, we don't know exactly what we're looking at with New England and, looking past the Chargers. But
right.
With Justin, thanks for joining the show. Appreciate you tuning in. We're happy to have you as always. Thank you. Chargers is going to be a rough week. It's even with Garrett and Clowney on the field. This is going to go along with what I was saying earlier, where I don't think we're equipped to chase points or deal with deficits, especially when it's 10 points or more. And you will literally have to score first and go score for score with them in order to be competitive in this game, regardless of whether Clowney and Garrett plays or not. I don't think this is one where, we kick a field goal, the Chargers score a touchdown, and we take a 4 and out, that at that point, to me, from what I've seen this season so far, and where the Chargers are in offense compared to us, I do not see a scenario in which we can come back there. It could get very ugly very fast. Now, do we have a track record of winning games that we shouldn't win and losing games that we shouldn't lose? Absolutely. And I actually haven't even looked at the line for this game. I don't want to know what it is. I know the Steelers are like 14 points underdogs next week. I have no idea what our line is. So, I don't want to know. Justin Herbert dealing with some injuries. Their wide receiver core, always a little banged up. But to me, with the way Denzel Ward has been playing, it scares the daylights out of me to have Mike Williams, potentially Keenan Allen on the field. They have outstanding depth at wide receiver. They have DeAndre Carter. They have Guyton. They have Palmer, Josh Palmer. They have Gerald Everett at tight end. Like they have weapons. And Justin Herbert, the AFC West is a mess right now. Like I can't even tell who's the contenders and pretenders right now. Look at the Raiders, right? They look like they're awful, but are they? I don't know. Justin Herbert has that Patrick Mahomes type arm where you're like, that doesn't even make sense. Like you could be a physicist and struggle to make sense out of some of these throws and how the ball ends up where it ends up. He is so good. I am scared to death of the Chargers. Ethan, this time I'm going to go to you first, and then Norman's shaking his head, so I'll go to him after that.
Yeah, I'm absolutely scared of the Chargers. Basically, if we it was going to be a tough task anyway, defensively. But if we're going to, if we don't have Garrett and or Clowney, we are going to get smoked. They are going to eat us alive. They will pass the ball all the way down the field and roll all over our asses, and they will run it down our throat if we're not prepared. I have a very bad feeling about this weekend, but as always, we'll hope for the best. And I mean, although, guys, would you agree that last year, but for a bad call, some bad breaks, a couple little things out in San Diego or out in Los Angeles, we should have won that game?
Yeah, that was a big game last year. And actually, and just for a second, I just looked up the line and just real quickly, I'm sure I could find it in real time, but yesterday the Chargers opened as 3.5-point favorites, which is shocking to me that Vegas is giving them just 3.5 points. I was expecting 10 points or something like that. Norman, you agree with Vegas at least more than we do. Real quick, give me what your thoughts are.
Okay, first of all, did you guys see this team play the Jaguars? Not us. I mean,
Jaguars. Okay, listen.
Hold on. So, okay. Watching them this year, they are not as awesome. Most of the teams this year aren't, which is a good thing for us. Now, I'm looking at this game from a standpoint of the same game plan that they had Sunday is going to be the game plan for this coming Sunday. Control the ball, especially now when you start playing with these elite quarterbacks. The less time he's on the field, the less time he has an opportunity to hurt the team. And I'm not seeing us having a lesser run game than the Jaguars did. And they were able to put it on them. So I'm pretty sure we can do the same thing. I also feel like this is going to be one of those times. I know he's probably saving it for either the Ravens or the Bengals. having Kareem and Hunt, and Chubb in the backfield more often. But I've been kind of noticing a trend. Every time those two are in the backfield, it's either a huge first down or somebody scores. So that's coming. That's coming. I think he's just percolating with it. But I'm not scared of the Chargers. I respect them, but I'm not scared of them. And I don't think these guys need to be scared. What they probably are is pretty pissed off that they let this one slip away from them, and they're going to be at home. So I think their pride is going to be up, and they're going to come out and show out. Now, if we have either Garrett or Clowney or both of them back, that's even better. Okay, because then that means one of them can lay a lick on Herbert, and the more times he gets knocked down, even if it ain't a sack, the better it's going to be when it comes to executing the offense. The only person on that team I'm scared of is their running back.
Eckler. Okay.
Because he kind of reminds me of Christian McCaffrey. But if they can contain him and force them to try to, throw their way out of stuff, we might be able to get onto something. But the main thing I think is going to win us the game is keeping the ball control.
So far this year, the Chargers are averaging 307 yards passing a game.
Yeah, and I think that sorry, Norman, there was a little bit of an echo, so I've been muting and unmuting you. I didn't mean to cut you off. Real quick. So I think that one of the keys to this game is definitely going to be holding Herbert from scoring 4 freaking touchdowns on us, right? Like, he's going to get 1 or 2. He's going to. If we can keep him to 1 or 2 touchdowns and keep the ground game in check on defense, that is going to be the key to winning this game. Now, I agree with Norman. We can run the ball on the Chargers, but here's the problem. And this is what the horse I was beating to death the first half of this show. If we have to abandon the run game to chase points, we are going to turn the ball over and we will not be able to catch back up. Now, I am very, very, very hard on the Jacksonville Jaguars because my brother is a diehard Jaguars fan and we do an NFL podcast. I am very hard on the Jaguars. They're balling out this year. I don't understand it at all, but they are. So I'm going to take the Chargers handling them or, playing what happened with them with a little bit of a grain of salt. Jacksonville lost to the Eagles last week. Another team that I really don't understand, to be honest with you. But the key is definitely going to be able to run the ball, not let the deficit get too wide. Don't turn the ball over, right? These are very, very elementary, keys to the game, that almost anybody could make. It's going to be fundamental football. We can run on them. I
just don't think it's going to be enough.
It's going to be tough, and Norma's not going to like my prediction for this game. But Herbert's got rib cartilage injury. He's banged up. If Clowney and Garrett plays and we can get some pressure on him, that is huge. Norman's absolutely correct. That is huge. Last week, though, what did he throw for? I think he threw for 4 touchdowns with that injury, and he's healing.
Eckler rushed for 140 yards.
And Eckler rushed for 140 yards. And the way our defensive backfield has been playing, I am not optimistic. It's going to be tough. It's going to be very tough. It's going to be very tough. Ethan, give me your thoughts.
Well, I'm right there with you. I really think we're going to have a difficult time. Norman, you've almost got me sold. You really almost have me sold and feeling positive. But, I think that in as much as I don't know, I'm just very concerned about the defense. I think that we're going to have to, like Norman talked about, I think we've all talked about ad nauseum, is just control the ball, keep the game tight, keep it close, and hope we can pull something out. the Jags beat the snot out of them. I don't know if we can take something out of their playbook. I don't know what they did exactly because I didn't see the game, but this could be tough. Should be tough, and we'll just wait and see what happens. It's always an adventure when watching Browns football on a Sunday.
Absolutely. All right, let's do this. Let's close out the show with our picks. We're going to go around the screen. Ryan, then Norman, then Ethan. Ryan, give me your prediction for this game.
I'm going to go with my gut on this one because I didn't go with my gut last week, and I was going to predict that the Browns were going to lose to Atlanta, and I didn't. And I said they were going to win, and they ended up losing. So I'm going to go with my gut. I know the Chargers are missing Bosa. I think they still have a really good defense. They're kind of inconsistent on defensive side of the ball too. But their offense, I think, poses too many difficulties for a struggling defense like the Browns. They are very good out of the backfield with passing. They're good at passing downfield. They're good at running the ball. And I just don't think the Browns defense is playing sound enough football to slow them down right now.
So what you're saying is Herbert is no Mayfield, Flacco, Mariota, or Trubisky.
No.
Okay.
No. I'm shocked if he doesn't throw for over 300 yards. But my prediction is 28-13.
You know what?
Chargers.
I was going to go around the screen this way, but I feel like Norman's going to leave us with some optimism. So I'm going to switch gears here. I'm going to go with Ethan next, and I'll give mine, and then we'll let Norman close this one out.
All right. Well, I was looking at the weather, hoping that maybe it was going to be crappy on Sunday, but it appears it's going to be 59 and sunny in the land. So that we don't got that working for us either.
That's football weather right there.
Yeah, it's nice day to be sitting out there having a few beers. I'm going to go 35-21 Los Angeles.
Okay. All right. So the over-under is actually, I think, like 47.5. So it's not quite that 50 to 55 range where, things are getting out of control. And again, I am super surprised that Los Angeles is only 3.5-point favorites on this. I'll be interested to see how that line moves throughout the week. Ethan, I like your prediction. But I'm going to go. I think the Browns are really going to struggle. I think they're going to abandon the run game and resort to the pass. And I don't think it's going to be as ugly as I am pessimistic per se, but I don't think it's going to translate into points. I think you're going to see a 40-plus pass attempts from Brissett. I think this is maybe going to be one of his higher passing yardage accumulation games of the year, maybe 300-plus for Brissett. It might translate to fantasy points from, to Amari Cooper through the passing game, especially in PPR leagues. But I'm going to go Cleveland 28. I am definitely taking the over on this. Definitely taking the over. Cleveland 28. I'm going to go Chargers 48. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. The Browns defense, in my opinion, will not be able to stop them from scoring at will on the ground after they get up early on. The Browns will score, but not enough to come anywhere close to winning this game, in my opinion. Norman, hit us with some optimism. Tell us what we want to happen.
All right. First, I gave you the score, and I give you some reasons why.
All
right. Browns 27, Chargers 24. The Browns will be able to run the ball. I'm predicting we're going to finally see a little more of Kareem Hunt and Chubb in the backfield. Chubb is going to get, I'd say about 117 yards on 26, 27 carries. Kareem Hunt is going to go over 100 yards passing and running. We're going to actually get to see more of Njoku, who I think is going to be about I would say 8 catches for about 85 yards. Scores aplenty between the three of them. And Cooper's going to have some catches. And I think the game winner is going to be York kicking a field goal, 50-plus yards to win the game as time expires.
Okay.
That would be the ideal Sunday in my opinion.
I would be a very happy man on Tuesday, I'll tell you that.
I would be a very happy man. Make sure that field goal is over 50 yards because I get nervous when they're shorter with him.
Yeah, over 50 yards would be great because I have Kid York on my fantasy team. So
there you go.
There you go.
Ethan, Norman, thank you so much for joining the show, guys.
Love you guys.
Hopefully we'll see you next week. Thank you. All right. So we are going to close out the show. Man, today was a marathon show. I feel like after our losses is when we kind of get into some of the marathons.
Right.
But
you're more critical.
It's past our bedtime. We are going to close out the show. We are the Dawgs Table, a Cleveland Browns roundtable discussion show. We go live every Tuesday at 9 p.m. on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. We are part of the Big Play Network and brought to you by Labatt Blue Light and Remax Edge Realty, the JC Group. And that's it for tonight. Until next time, go Browns.
Go Browns.